Hey everybody, what's up? Today we're going to be taking a look at Yoshi. Now, this is a test server, so we don't have access to any accessories because they don't exist yet. And this is also not going to be like a full-fledged guide. This is more of we're just going to take a look at him today, see how he performs in a few different parts of the game, and maybe give you an idea of whether or not you want to go for the fusion. Again, as I say often, I'm an advocate of going for every fusion because you never know when someone's going to get buffed. You never know when content's going to come out or change or whatever. You never know when someone's going to turn out to be more useful than maybe it seemed like they were at first glance. So I think anytime you have the opportunity to add a legendary to your account, you should, because you may literally never pull him again. You may never have an opportunity to get him again, and he may be really good one day if he's not good already. So I just want to throw that little disclaimer in. He's pretty interesting. He's interesting, and I've played around with him a little bit in a few different builds, and we're gonna try the reflex set. I think I like the idea of a reflex set for what he's turned out to be good at. It seemed like they were going for someone to kind of interrupt arena, the speed arena teams. That's kind of what it seemed like at first, but there's just not enough there for that. I tried to play around with it and tried to make it work. He needs too much around him to matter here, right? He's still got to be really fast because this isn't a crazy amount of turn meter. It's decent, but you know, Arbiter's throwing up an attack buff on everybody. If they have a Lysandra, she's basically gonna cancel him out. She's gonna cancel his passive out here. Where this would really come into play would be champions like Duchess or Mage or someone that's throwing up stacks of debuffs at a time, but they're also throwing up block debuffs. And he can't do anything about that. He has no strip. He has no ability to get through a block debuff. So it seemed like they were going for that and just missed. I gotta tell you, man, Booked Up, this dude really carries hard in PvE. He really carries hard, and in not arena. Anywhere that's not arena, anywhere where there's waves and opportunities to lock down, this gets down to a 3-turn cooldown. And even with books, it's a 75% chance. It's a 100% chance if there's an attack buff on the enemies. 75% chance is still pretty substantial. Again, on a 3-turn cooldown, if you've got an apothecary or someone helping him turn cycle and a decent amount of speed on him, and maybe anyone else helping him crowd control, he's pretty much going to be able to keep these up. That's also why I wanted to try the reflex set, because I think that's going to help him keep this up. One thing about Yoshi is that Booked Up, his cooldowns are kind of bonkers, right? Here we've got a 3-turn cooldown on an AoE True Fear that doesn't have to hit anybody. That's a really important thing to note that I was overlooking at first. He doesn't have to hit, so there's no chance of weak hitting, which means there's no chance of him being disqualified from landing a debuff, right? He just has a chance to do it. So affinity doesn't matter here. That's pretty huge. And then on his A2, 2 times at random places a decreased accuracy and an HP burn. 2-turn cooldown. So it doesn't seem like much, but it adds up quick on a 2-turn cooldown. And then he's got the A1 stun. And we're going to take a look at his masteries now. Oh, he's also got a 19% speed lead everywhere, which is not bad. So I think that he's probably not going to do much, especially in later arena. I don't know that you're going to have him, you know, if you're speed running and all that, you probably don't need him for anything. But if you're progressing through the game and you are in a situation where you can do a fusion, I think he's probably going to help you, depending on what your champ box looks like for your dungeon team. So let's take a look at his masters and talk about why we set him up the way we did, and then we'll go and take a look at him in some of the content. We bumped his accuracy up, obviously. Everything he does has debuffs, so we want to make sure he's got accuracy. Just more opportunities to land the debuffs. We put the turn meter knockback the first time he hits someone with his A1. I like that on a lot of champs. I'm a big fan of that one. Chance to reduce the cooldown. Again, just any opportunity we can get to keep him pumping that A3 out is going to be huge. And then a chance to extend the other debuffs he's got. He's got the what is it? The decrease accuracy. He's got a couple of debuffs that can be affected by this. And then over here, we worked our way down to giving him a better chance to land the stun and the fear and the true fear, or just the true fear, yeah. Here we gave him, so one thing too about him, he's a support, but don't don't view him as the kind of support that's going to... He doesn't support the team in the way that a traditional support does with heals and shields and things like that. He supports with a couple of buffs, but he really supports by trickle damage with the HP burns, and then again, that potential to crowd control. That is pretty huge support. That's a lot of support on a 3-turn cooldown. So we give him some opportunities to protect the team through this defensive tree. He takes less damage when he gets hit with a crit, gets more healing and all that. Chance to remove debuffs if he gets hit hard. If he gets crowd control, we got a chance to get block debuffs when he comes out. Here we've got a chance to leech when he lands the stun with his A1. And then down here, we decrease the damage all allies receive from the first enemy hit in each round. Again, just an opportunity to protect the team, because you can get him kind of tanky. And then turn meter here when an ally gets hit with a crit. Again, helping him cycle back around. We want that A3 pumping out as often as we can. And then here, just a better chance to land it if the enemies don't have an attack buff. If they do, and he's booked, it's 100%. It's just an accuracy check. So, yeah, that's a quick look at him. That's why he's built the way he is. That's why his masteries are the way he are. That's why his masteries are the way he are. That's why his masteries are the way they are. And this is not a ridiculous build. It's not crazy gear. It's not even all maxed. And he has no accessories. This should be a pretty fair assessment of how he would apply to, I would say, the majority of the player base. So let's hop over and take a look at how he performs. All right, so here we've got him in the lead, so we're getting use of his leader skill here. I've got Syl in there with him, I've got Apothecary in there with him, I've got Rosin in here, and then I had Astralon in Cold Heart's spot, but just for the sake of speeding things up a little bit when we get to the dragon, I figured I would swap her in. But Astralon, you know I'm a fan of Astralon, we talked about him, and he was contributing pretty heavily to the crowd control. Another reason I wanted to take him out was to give Yoshi an opportunity to do more, right? Syl is still helping too. Syl is amazing. So she's definitely going to be helping with the stuns, which is not a bad idea to have someone else that can kind of help out. You don't want it to all fall on his shoulders because the True Fear is also not a guarantee, right? So I think this is a pretty fair team. There's a couple other ways you could go. You know, we've done a lot of teams where we have War Maiden in situations where she's moderately protected. But you see, I mean, it's just full lockdown. Between Syl contributing stuns and Yoshi dropping these True Fears, I don't think they got a turn. I don't think anybody ever got hit. I didn't notice. We'll pay closer attention in this wave, but I mean, it's just money, dude. It's just money. And then again, it's very likely to lock them down. I have seen enemies sneak through the True Fear a few times, but you know, for the most part, it's money. And between his masteries and the reflex set, and then someone like Apothecary that can help him turn cycle a little bit, it's nasty. It's really nice. I think he's going to be really nice for progression, much better than I think I was giving him credit for initially. I was just too focused on the stuff that seemed like it was meant for arena, and just was not going to perform well. I was too caught up in that to really think about where else he was going to be useful, but he's contributing very heavily to this run. And then on top of that, he's got the HP burns, which do add up, right? It's going to be, he'll probably have some decent damage at the end of this run. He's certainly not going to be on a speed team. But I think too, when we get to the dragon, Cold Heart, she just wasted her Heart Seeker, but either way, when we had Astralon in it, it'll probably honestly equal the same. Astralon helps clear the waves quicker, a little bit slower on the dragon than Cold Heart might be, but she's slower on the wave, so what are you gonna do? But I am oddly impressed with him in this PvE content. He should be throwing up a burn here. Debuff blocked. What did he, A1? He should definitely have his A2. Is he not A2ing on the boss here? Real quick, I realized that the first thing he did when we got here was use his A2, and the burn is up on the dragon. The dragon just looks like the dragon to me here. I didn't even notice that the HP burn animation was up. And there seems to be a bug with him where he's not putting his, the HP burn's not showing up in the debuff bar. But it was up, he's using it, everything's fine. So omit everything else I say about him not using his A2 on the dragon. He just buffed. I didn't I mean, I know he had it. It's a 2-turn cooldown. That'll be interesting if he's not A2ing on the boss. But kind of standard damage output with the rest of the supports. I wish I'd been paying closer attention to if he'd used his A2 at all on the dragon. Had to be available. It's only a 2-turn cooldown. That might be worth mentioning. That might be worth pointing out. Because that would be nice. If he needs to do that. He needs to do that on bosses too. So, again, good wave potential. Really good wave potential. And in Fire Knight, again, for the waves in Fire Knight can be a little bit scary. He can help out with that. He does have the 2-hitter on his A2. And I think he used it. I think he used it earlier. I didn't mean to do that. I can't remember now. I'm pretty sure we had an HP burn on the boss earlier when we did this run. Let's check it out real quick and see what he does here. I mean, yeah, those True Fears are just nasty, dude. He's the only one here crowd controlling too. So, well, Lydia does it a little bit too, but for the most part, he's the only one doing it on like an AOE scale. So we'll see how much he can do here. They're just, the True Fears are just it's like they don't exist. Unfortunate RNG. They've got such a good chance to proc, and yet we didn't see a 1. But, you know, if you've got an Arbiter, it's all good. All right, let's see here. So there he A2 to go. We got 2 random targets. I think I tried out his A2 earlier too. It's sometimes when it says attacks randomly, it'll attack the target you click, and then the other ones are random. For him, it's truly random. I've noticed that it doesn't matter who I click. It really is 2 random hits. When I was playing around with him in Arena, I noticed that. I mean, they're just taking... This is a bad run for RNG, but it's still going okay. We did lose our Cold Hearts. If we didn't have a Reviver, we'd be hurting a little bit, but... Bad RNG. I'm blaming that on bad RNG. He's landing. He's doing his job. If the RNG's screwing us, what can you do about that, you know? Alright, so let's see what he does here. With shield up and when the shield's down. Okay, he'll A2 into the shield. We must have got the reflex proc because he did it again. It looks like... I'm noticing this a lot too. This may just be a test build bug, but I'm noticing the enemies are catching the HP burn animation, but there's no HP burn in the debuff bar. So I don't actually know if we're getting credit for the damage or not, but he'll do it. He'll do it here. I didn't notice. I didn't notice if he did it on Dragon or not. I mean, I guess it could have been. No, there's no unless it happened to be on cooldown when he used his A1, and then we No, there's no way. He would have had to have used his A2 at some point. So he either didn't do it on Dragon or I missed it. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. But there you go. Again, I think we got a little bad RNG in the waves there. Lots of turns being taken through the True Fear. So it's not going to be as reliable as someone that AoE stuns, but it's there. And I think more often than not, it's probably going to do pretty well. It would be interesting. He is off affinity. There's some spider tank potential here, I reckon. That might be worth playing. I've been trying lots of stuff with these new champs. I wonder if something like this... We just have no defense break. We need a defense break for the spider. Do we dare? Do we dare try to do it without Syl? Oh, how about... I want Apothecary for the turn cycle capability. I'd like to keep him as the only force to see if he can spider tank. And again, that's a lot of opportunities for the RNG to not go in our favor, but... Syl monster. He will be throwing out a lot of HP burns, actually. We might not need the defense break. Maybe we do like an Armiger. No. Let's do, what do we think here? Could just do Draco. Let's do Draco. Let's just do Draco. Get the defense down and I just want to see. If Draco works here, then probably other things will work. In this situation, I would say. I want to see like how well he spreads the HP burns. I want to see what the fears do for us. This might be a little too optimistic. To want him to be good in Spider might be a little optimistic. At least to be good too significantly. I'm sure with the right team around him, he's got some interesting things that could be very helpful. The fears and HP burns could be really nice here. The decreased accuracy, which he does place, right? When he places the HP burns. These are things that could be helpful. But it might be very specific. The kind of team he might need might be very specific. I mean, depending on what you're lacking. I don't like it when it all goes one target in Spider. I feel like the odds of that seem pretty low. 2 random targets and it hits the same Spider. That's not fun. That's the first time he's used his A1 in this fight. Which means between Masteries and Reflex set. That's huge. Again? He has to hit with that too in here. He doesn't have to hit with the fears. He does have to hit with the HP burns. So that's... I'm not saying I recommend it. But they did do it. It took him almost 10 minutes. But he put out 8.3 million damage. His damage is right on par with Monster and slightly under Draco, so... I don't know, there's something to be said for that. I imagine... Again, it's a longer run. I'm sure he would, you know, I don't know. That's not bad. He matched Monster's output, who's doing AoE hits pretty often, right? And again, Draco, who's spreading poisons around pretty heavily too, and his damage is right on par with him. I don't know, there's something there. I'm not saying I recommend it necessarily. I don't know how you would do this quickly with him, but there you have it. I figured as one last quick thing we would try with him is bring him in the Nightmare campaign. I'm gonna run him with Valkyrie. I figured to offset the fact that he's at elemental disadvantage or affinity disadvantage. Man, I still got them Summoner's War terms way down in the brain. I figured to counteract the fact that he's going to be at a disadvantage here, we'll put Valkyrie with him. I did some of this with Valkyrie and Bad L, and there were stages that they struggled to do together. So we're in 12-3. He's at disadvantage. Let's see what they do here. Let's see how heavily we think he contributes. She is on a stun set, so she's going to contribute some crowd control occasionally as well. But let's see what he's able to do here. How much lockdown he's got in him. She's proccing those stuns, dude. Holy cow. Alright, so I think that's our first hit we took right there, isn't it? No, we must have taken one because his health isn't quite full. I mean, it looks like it's going to be very safe. Looks like anybody that you could pair with some crowd control, especially in this reflex set. I think he's such a good candidate for reflex because all of his cooldowns are short once he's booked. Reflex can... on champs that have longer cooldowns, it can be nice in the longer fights, but I don't think it's quite as impactful on someone as it is like Yoshi, where his cooldowns are 2 and 3 turns. That means every time you get a reflex proc, it's going to be huge. It's almost always going to give him a skill on that turn quicker, rather than help him get to it in the next couple of turns potentially. It's almost always going to give him a skill that he wouldn't have had on that turn. So that's... I think reflex is a really good idea for him. And again, they're not really having any trouble at all here. He's taken a couple of smacks, but... And again, they're running through that true fear like it's not there, but whatever. But yeah, probably someone like a monster or anyone that can offer him a little bit of support like that. I think the counterattacks are nice, the shield is nice. That's where he's gonna struggle, is when this happens. He's got nothing for that. He's got nothing for block debuffs. That's where he'll struggle. Ooh, yeah, we might die. That's why he's gonna struggle so bad in arena too. It's like, again, on one hand on the cleave, he'll get a little bit of turn meter, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough. And if the cleave is tuned, it's not gonna be enough, period. He couldn't cut. Okay, so he almost got through this. Almost got through this. Yeah, interesting either way. We'll leave it in. It's worth seeing. The point is to see him in action, right? So yeah, I think he's more interesting than maybe he was getting credit for on the PvE side of things. There is a lot of control here. There is some utility here. He's if you can get lucky with the books, it doesn't really matter if they go into the A1. It's nice. There's book value here if you want to use him though, right? The cooldowns are huge. If you could get the A3 cooldown done, you could probably skip this one if you wanted to. If you've got books to blow, you could keep going. But I think he's not bad. I think he's a decent candidate for the fusion, and of the new champs, I think he's the one, right? I don't know that I think the other... For a fusion that hopefully will be relatively doable, you know, more on par with the fusions like Drakgul and kind of the way they've been lately, where they're pretty easy to do if you're paying attention. I don't think he's a bad candidate for it. So I'm not going to use him in arena. There's a couple other things that I think probably could be done with him, but I'm going to leave that to the other guys. I'm sure that some of the other guys are going to cover him in arena. So bounce around and check out the other guys' videos too. It's going to be interesting to get their take on him, see what they're doing with him, see if they're surprised with him like I am. And again, I'm sure they're going to have some takes that I don't have. This is all very quick glance, first impression, first getting to use him stuff. So let me know what you think about him. Are you intrigued at all? Were you surprised by anything he did here? Yeah, I'm interested to know what you guys think about this. Are you going to be going for the fusion? All that stuff. I will be going for it, I think. So that's it. I appreciate you guys watching. Hope it was fun, and we'll see you soon.